Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Longbox. I'm here with Battsauce. I'm sure you have a real name.
It's Joseph Battaglia. It's on the book, so
Yeah, I was just fucking with you. So how you doing? It's funny because
good.
at work today, a couple of the guys that I work with they watch like, who's on tonight? I'm like, Battsauce. And they're like,
Butt
yeah, no,
sauce.
yeah, Battsauce.
That's usually I get.
So they were busting my chops all day long. Battsauce. I was like, guys got Twitter handles. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, it's smooth. I don't know. I didn't think about it too hard, and then somebody mistakenly said butt sauce, and I'm like, oh, okay. I should have seen that one coming.
Well, this Twitter name was like auto generated. Mine Zentorian 2000.
Oh, really?
That sounds pretty cool, so I kept it.
Yeah.
But I never used it. But then when I made my channel, I made John's Longbox at twitter.com. And then I argued with people back in the dark ages when having dissenting thought was worth banning people. And I can't get that. I can't get it back. It's just perfect. John's Longbox, Twitter,
Yeah.
So nobody knows what.
Memorable.
Yeah. Yeah. So how are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. I launched a book that apparently the launch was so powerful it changed the results of the election, and now we got a new president.
Nice,
So,
nice.
You're welcome.
Is this the book Edge Dawn? Oh.
So that was I didn't get to get you the link until like this morning. Dawn Edge I released like a few years back. That's a grimdark sci-fi. I have no problem talking about that. I didn't have any internet presence at all. Not like I have much anyone like now anyways, but yeah, that's a book I wrote with my wife. Like she did a lot of the lore and stuff, but like I'm primarily the writer of it. But yeah, it's a grimdark sci-fi. An AI like kind of controls like the whole world and everything, and so it's like a utopia, and like super powered people start to pop up, and nobody knows exactly what's going on with that. And so this guy, well, not that nobody knows what's going on, the AI knows, and it has to do with this drug that kind of like enters them into like overlapping world, where then they kind of become like a superpowered individual. So the AI is trying to like take kids and train them to fight off the other random like superpowered terrorists that are popping up. So yeah.
And let me pull this down. And this is your new book. Let me get this. This is your new book. Did something just happen? I swear, StreamYard is acting really weird tonight, right?
Yeah. So Illumination Toolsmith, Tale of the Dunce Whisperer, just released last night. Officially. Oh, sorry. I just ate food. Yeah. So basically, what I say this is Harry Potter meets Office Space, because the humor is very Office Space. It's very like fantasy, like kind of whimsical and stuff like that. But it's like they're in like the humor's very like they're in an office and they're dealing with customers that are complaining and coworkers that are complaining and the main character that's complaining, and it's just it's how he gets through this world, and halfway through it kind of turns into it turns into an action comedy at that point, a little bit of slapstick humor and whatnot. But yeah, this was a book that I stopped writing the sequel to that last book because I was like, I got to get this idea, and I just I was having such a blast kind of writing it. So basically, it's essentially, I was like, okay, what if there was like an IT equivalent in like a fantasy kingdom where like essentially they're doing like cubicle type things in a kingdom. It's a weird concept. Yeah.
So what would you see like a he's like he would be like an NPC in a Dungeons and Dragons game that comes and fixes all the magic items or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, kind. Well, yeah, I guess kind of. But yeah, no. So like, they're in the kingdom. Everybody has. There's some people that just can straight up cast magic. They're rare, but there's a whole structure of magical items that are used for anything for self defense, guards or whatever, or just like doing work. Even like some magical devices just tell time, right?
Okay.
And so his job is to go around and fix those things. Like everyone pretty much has like what I called like a crystal cast. So basically, that's like kind of a communication thing. They can like send messages through or just talk to another person on the other end of a crystal cast. But yeah,
Cool.
and then I call it trouble instead of troubleshooting. They're trouble casting. Yeah, and I got like a lot of play words and like that. Yeah.
So, Illumination Toolsmith, is that like the name of the series, and the Tales of the Dunce Whisperer is the name of the book?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Like I plan on doing a sequel. I'm thinking about doing a comic if I can get this successful enough. I'm gonna do a campaign for an audiobook, and if that gets enough, I'm gonna like I'll if I can get people eager enough, I'll do that as a comic, kind of a standalone, right? That doesn't. It's it would be a sequel, but not that like you'd require to read this to consume that one, right?
So let me. So how do you get on Amazon? Like, is this self-published? Like.
Yeah, this is through Amazon Publishing, right? So it's so limited and so annoying. Like the limitations Amazon goes through, but it's basically you just get your cover and the dimensions, and it's pretty easy to submit, right? Through Amazon, but yeah, I don't know, they just it's KDP Publishing, I think, is like the actual like terminology or whatever mechanism you go through.
What do they print them on demand?
Yeah, it's all print on. Well, so yeah, that's the easiest option. This one's print on demand. Yeah, so you order it from here. I don't have to do anything, right? I don't have to like check the website or anything, check to see if there's an order. It goes to Amazon's printers and it ships. And if you got Amazon Prime, it's free shipping. So that you're paying $7.99. Yeah.
And so, but what? So like you write this book, and what do you hire an editor, or does like Amazon approve it or disapprove it, or does Amazon have an editor? Because I imagine just because I can write a book doesn't mean I can spell. Doesn't mean my book's any good or run on sentences. I'm just curious about this whole thing because I've got like 3 half-written novels that I'm like, I don't know. Nobody in the publishing world's gonna, because let's face it, the publishing world today is like, you're not a tiny lesbian midget, with from Zimbabwe or something. That was,
I mean, it's kind of a problem because anyone can put up anything.
Right,
like,
right.
It doesn't. It could be not edited. It could be complete and utter trash. Amazon's going to take it, right? Now, Amazon it's a whole thing with working with the algorithm. Like, apparently, they don't really start to promote anyone's stuff until you get like 50 reviews on your book, so reviews for anyone who has something on Amazon is super important, whether it's bad or not. We just need to get to that 50 number.
That means engagement.
Yeah, exactly. What was the second part of that you mentioned?
Editing, like.
I mean, my wife is my editor. I mean, she's wicked smart. I don't remember if she was in the chat when you were on my stream, but yeah, she edited the last book as well. But yeah, no, she's the best editor I could have because she's not afraid to call me stupid. And we get in plenty of arguments when we're
because I know a few people that they're like, oh, like I'm a published author, and then oh, you just put it on Amazon, like they used to be like Random House Publishing and stuff like that. I'm not putting them down on Amazon, but I was like, is there a vetting process? So like I could finish my books and put them up there.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, self-published. I mean, you're completely right. When you're like a published, it means you got picked up by a legitimate publishing office. Cause there's also a lot of, man, the world of novel things, it's like trying to avoid scams like left and right. Because there's plenty of like publishing companies out there that don't do anything. They're just looking for people desperate to sell their book and to give them a couple dollars, give them a couple $100, and they'll like put it on Amazon. They'll be like, okay, cool, we did our part. And it's like, thanks, dude. You didn't do anything. But yeah, you mentioned like to try to get into the publishing like world, like in today's age is like damn near impossible.
Right. I did it in college. When I was in college, I was super pretentious, and I wrote these pretentious novels, or at least tried to. And then we took like a whole semester on like trying to get published. And I was just like, I'm looking around, and like, oh, the Indian girl got accepted. This guy, and like me and this guy Bernie, the two white guys, like, so. But it's funny because with my last name BUA, a couple of people asked me what my ethnicity that it was, and I was at the time I was just like, I'm not lying. I should have lied.
I know. I did. It's crossed my mind way too many times. And so it was really bad. Like when I was publishing when I was trying to get the last book out, and I did try to go the publishing route, which is like you have to try to convince a literary agent to try to pick up your work, and literary agents, and this is a ridiculous whole like gatekeeping setup that they have. They'll have like a list of things that they're looking for, right? Maybe the literary agent isn't looking for fiction. Different literary agents specialize in different things to sell whatever book to whatever publisher, right? But like when I was looking, you couldn't find on anyone's list without a check mark being like, we're looking for people of color. We're looking for women. We're looking for, people, the LGBT community. And it's just like, they might as well just written out straight white men need not apply. Like,
I'm talking about this was the 90s when I started, I started and stopped, my whole literary illusion lasted about a year, but it was bad in the 90s, and I can't believe I'm about to say that was 30 years ago,
Yep.
So I could only imagine. Who was I was listening to RJ from the Fourth Age, and he was just saying like, you're not getting published. There's a stranglehold on the traditional publishing systems these days, and let's just face it, some people aren't getting published no matter what.
Well, and now we have so many people with social media that already have built-in audiences. So if they're just going to contact those people with the built-in audiences and be like, hey, you want to write a book, or you want us to have somebody ghostwrite a book for you. So it's like, why go to, honestly, it's like, why go to a person like me? It's like, I don't have a built-in audience. Like, they're better off going to somebody with like 20,000 subs on YouTube. Why not? Right.
Would I use Amazon in the future? Sure. Why not? First, I'd have to go dust off these. It's funny is they're on 3x5. They're not floppy disks, but they're 3x5 disks, and they're thick. I would have to buy an old, drive to get these manuscripts out. It's like they're on outdated technology, and then I'll probably open them up, and they probably don't even work anymore.
There's companies like Ingram Sparks, which I will be getting this book published from Ingram, or printed from Ingram Sparks, to have a cheaper, like not cheaper in quality, but a cheaper priced book that I can sell to people in person or whatever. It's a company a lot of people use. Ingram Sparks, pretty popular, and so you can actually hook that up to Amazon. So the book wouldn't be coming from one of Amazon's printers; it'd be coming from one of Ingram's printers, which is going to be a much better quality. The only thing is, like, Amazon does some shady stuff because they don't want you to use them. But overall, it's a much better quality book, which is an option. So like if you were to like go and order from here, you wouldn't even know. You would just like click order, and then it would come like as a customer, you wouldn't know. It would just come from Ingram Sparks instead of Amazon. And hypothetically, the person would be making more money depending on the deal they got from the printing or whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it was called the zip drive. It was a 3.5 like semi
thumb drive.
It's not a thumb drive, but I'm saying all my manuscripts. I saved them on the technology of the day, and it's obsolete. And then I never thought about it. I literally never thought about it until today when we were just talking. So I gotta see if this even exists. They're like, so it sounds so pretentious when I say it out loud, but we had to write something. My writing coach was really, really cool. He's like, write something that nobody else is writing. I was like, what are you talking about? And he write nobody else. So I wrote a great comedy, like a play that was supposed to be a great play. How pretentious was that? So I wrote a play. I thought it was.
Hey, write whatever you want.
Then I wrote a screenplay for And Alexander the Great movie and the Yellowstone movie came out, that pretty much destroyed any interest I had in that book. Where is this going to go? So I wrote like a bunch of historical nonsense.
Okay, it's not me. I guess you're roboting really hard. Am I roboting, chat?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know, something's going on with your. You've been like glitching. So I've been trying to like. Yeah, I can hear what you're saying, but it's like difficult. Yeah, you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up.
Wait, might be better now.
How's everything now?
I think that sounds good.
Sounds messed up, yeah. Mr. Robot. Any good?
Yeah,
Bad?
yeah, I think you're good. I think you're in the clear. Yeah. It was just,
I don't know what's going on, guys, but my StreamYard account was weird. A couple of my apps on my phone were acted weird. My conspiracy sense is tingling. So, we just had an election yesterday, and now everything's strange on the internet, and everybody's blaming the internet for a certain Mr. Guy getting elected. So my conspiracy sense. But I was saying, I wrote these real pretentious historical, Alexander the Great screenplay and a Greek tragedy. And I started writing like it sounds so pretentious when I say it alive. Is it still bad?
No, I'm hearing you clear.
Okay. And then I started writing basically Moses and Aaron arguing about the who's going to lead the Hebrews back. So they're having this weighty theological discussion. Like if you read the Old Testament, there was a real movement between who should they follow, the prophet, or they should follow the high priest, Aaron being the high priest, Moses being the prophet. And then I kind of put like a bunch of jerks building the tabernacle and breaking the tabernacle, like slapstick comedy behind. It was so I laugh at it now, thinking like anybody would want to read this. So now I'm curious to find.
I was,
if I could find these scripts, and read them, and like at the time I thought they were brilliant. I read them now, I'm gonna be like, oh my god.
Hey, you never know. It's worth trying. But yeah, I mean, mentioning an election, guys. I can maybe get the price of my Kindle version like 10 cents more cheaper. $2.99. Economy's going to be doing great. So, good book here to purchase. I'll make like a whopping like 20 cents off of it. But yeah, no, Christmas, I really wanted to get this out like around now because Christmas is coming up. You got anybody's reading? If you got anyone who works IT, like period, they need to read this book if you read or work IT, because this is like that's primarily what this is. I worked IT in the military for years and outside the military.
What branch of military were you in?
I was in the Marine Corps. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I mean, it's not just like you have to be IT. Like there's not like computer language or anything like that you're going to need to know. But like anyone's worked customer service, like big time, this is going to be a huge cathartic like experience for you. I've worked help desk for so many years. I have just way too many stories and type of people that I've ran into, and they've it's not like I'm alone on meeting these type of people. So you can experience it again in a not hostile like situation. Would
you say is this all ages? Like, is this for young adults? Is this for?
Yeah, I mean, I would say all ages. I would say like you're 13, you're definitely fine. You're right. Like there's no blood in it. Like it's all description. There's no blood in it. There's no cursing in it. But yeah. Like,
so when you say Harry Potter, you're legitimately saying like the audience, if you enjoyed Harry Potter, same age group, same demographic.
Yeah, essentially, right.
I mean, that's not anything bad. I think Harry Potter was brilliant in the fact that it was written so that little kids could read it. It was written so that adults could read it. I'm a big fan of all ages literature. I think it's something that we're ignoring because we got to get like look at the classics: Chronicles of Narnia, The Hobbit, Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan, Charlotte's Web. These are books that adults read still. I believe in 100 years, people are still going to be reading Harry Potter.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I was like, I thought about that, like about like 10% way in the book. I'm like, okay, because I like raunchy humor of, see, I'm in the short bus, right? I like raunchy, stupid slapstick or whatever,
Yeah.
dark humor. But I'm like, would that enhance the story? And I'm like, no. It fits way more like an all age type of story. So I made to keep that tone like going through. But yeah, like, okay, so like for an example, like the type of comedy you're gonna get in this, which yes, you could read this as you're younger, but like you're gonna be able to relate to it more as older. Like I said, like anyone who's worked a customer service job, this guy, he's fixing all the magical tools for like the guards or just any type like logistics or something like that. So if you ever went to a supply store, like there's a situation where he goes to a supply store and he has a tough time with them because they're just, they won't do anything. These particular people are really lazy. But yeah, no, they like there's a chapter. It's called blaming the distant end, and that's like it's not solely like something in IT they experience, but like you get an issue and you just blame the other guy on the distant end. You're saying, oh, the issue's on that, right? So go talk to them, so I don't have to deal with it.
We have a thing. We blame the guy who just got laid off.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, that was John's fault. He got laid off for a reason. Oh,
I didn't put that joke in there, but yes, that type of humor is exactly what would be in this. Have you ever heard of A Good Idea Fairy?
No, but I can imagine it's just like a fairy that comes and gives you a good idea.
Well, like specifically, like everybody knows Ella Enchanted. So that was a good idea fairy, right? If you remember the story, she makes Ella obedient, right? So Ella has to do everything everyone says, and that is a good idea fairy, which is from like Irish or whatever folklore, like from back in the day. And so what the idea is in a work environment is you got somebody who comes in, typically like a new supervisor or something like that, and they have no idea of like the whole 360 situation, and they're just like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and you're like, oh, well, actually, it's not going to work. I don't want to hear it. You're doing it, and it's just like all these
I get it.
good ideas.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a prominent character in this. Specifically, it's like a specific person in my past that just made my life a living hell. And I'm sure
in construction, we get these, like, I'm not even joking, like right out of college, 22-year-old kids, they walk around with white helmets. We call them the white helmets, and they got a clipboard, and they call you down off the ladder and they ask you what you do, and then they tell you how to do it. When I was up on the ladder, you didn't even know what I was doing, and you can't argue with them. Like 10, 15 years ago, we used to tell them to go F themselves, and they would just impotently walk away. But now, I don't know, somebody decided to give them power, and they could lay us off. So we, been doing this job for twice as long as you're old, and now some kid with a clipboard is.
I mean, those are the officers for us, like, well, especially like towards the end of my 8 years. It's just like I started to have officers that were younger than me, and just like, man, I got so much more life experience. Why do I have to listen to you, dude?
Hobo says this sounds like an interesting tabletop game, which begs the question: are you a role player?
Yeah, I love role playing.
Okay, I've never met a Marine who wasn't into role playing games.
Yeah, we're all nerds in there, man. Like,
it's funny because I never met a bunch of guys who could kill you and at the same time wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Marines are weird. Yeah, very weird. But what I think is good.
All my friends that are Marines, they were weird. And I like weird, so that's not an insult. I like this art. What is this? What am I looking at?
This is Joe Ball. Did this, and he has like a very like dark kind of like art style, menacing, right? Like something you see in
this is really nice
Berserk, right? And so I felt like his art style can capture the good idea fairy probably the best, right? And so it's like she comes into the work office and she's immediately like the first thing she does when she comes into the office, and she starts scheduling meetings. And as like the chapters go on, they're getting into more meetings that are just wasting more of their time, and they're having less time to do the projects that they need to do, and it just everything starts to stack up. And it's like she's a bit like she's kind of one of the main bigger antagonists in this, essentially.
So this is interoffice politics, medieval style.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they're gonna get fired, but in this, like, you get fired, you're actually gonna get fired. You're gonna go down a fire pit, But they're like, "What? Why is a fairy down here?" Because, like, of course, it's the IT shop, so they work in the dungeon. That's like every IT place everywhere. It's like they're in the basement somewhere, and they call it the dungeon. So, this is the supervisor who technically was above her when she first came in, but she just popped a squad and just became in charge of him just because. And yeah, no. So it's like at first they're like, "No, man, there's a fairy. Why is a fairy here?" And then they slowly start to realize, like, "Oh no, it's a good idea, fairy. Like, we're screwed. Like, this is not good." But yeah,
I do like it. Yeah, I heard that term before, but I'm slow on the uptake since I went back to work the other day. I'm just half asleep all the time. But and it's funny. I owe Joe Ball an apology, even though he has no idea, because when people started mentioning his art, I got the name Joe Ball mixed up for no reason at all with Joe Glass, the guy that your boy Zach has been making fun of for like 3 years.
No.
And I'm like, Zach's been saying this guy's no good, and I'm looking at this great art, so I got confused. So yeah, I realize now I've been thinking about the wrong person. This is awesome art. I would love to see a full comic with this. Yeah, this is Joe Ball is the artist's name. This is awesome. I would love to see this in color as a comic. This would be great.
Couldn't afford it, but I would love to too.
I couldn't afford it. Yeah, well, yeah. That's because I'm looking at this art, and I look at her face, and it's not the same, but I do see like Art Adams in here.
Who's that?
Oh, Art Adams. He got famous for doing X-Men for a while. He did the Long Shot series, but he's a one of the top comic book artists. He's another guy. I don't even think Marvel can afford him.
Yeah. Like I have 5 pieces total of art done, and with all of them I was pretty vague. Like, I took like a little bit of descriptions from the book and kind of wanted each artist to kind of do their own thing, and not like, I didn't want the art to be like canon, because especially when you're reading a book, everybody comes up with their own idea of what things are in the world. So I didn't want like it to be cool, giving you an idea, but it's not like, hey, what you thought of it might be right, But yeah, this is Joe Ball. Do you want me to show the trailer? I made a nice trailer.
The trailer.
You mentioned pretentious, and I'm like, I got something for you. No, it's like part of my
you're looking
character.
There was a guy he was a Navy SEAL, so he's not a Marine, a Navy SEAL, and he was just the this guy was like a killer. You just look at him. His name was Jose, and he would come to work, but he still would like go off and do missions for the government, and then come back and be a construction worker for a little while, then leave.
Yeah,
he had special permission to leave with the shop, and he would just come in, be quiet, and he was the quietest guy. And he used to like people. They would mess with him. I'm like, he was built like a superhero. And we were all in an elevator one day, and this one guy was just busted his chops. And Jose was standing behind the guy, and the guy's like over his shoulder, like, yeah, he thinks he's tough. Yeah, he thinks it. And I'll never forget, he went in front of him, spun around, and like grabbed the front of his head, choked, and this guy collapsed on him. And then he spun around, stood back to me, and then, I'm not joking, I was there. I heard it. I smelled it. The guy who collapsed shit his pants.
Oh no!
And then the elevator opened up, and everybody just stepped out, and he was like, and he went home and everything. And I just remember the next day, that guy, he was like putting his tools, and I said, it's a little different being the toughest guy in the bar and being one of the elite best 500 hand-to-hand combatants in the American Army, in the whole military.
Yeah.
Like this guy, he, does like halo jumps and stuff like that. So
yeah, some of those guys that are quiet, like,
yeah, he's very quiet.
They probably saw some stuff, and they don't, they just keep to their own. It's different breed,
He went off, and I've never seen. I went to a different job, but I remember one day everybody was teasing me about playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, oh, you're 50 years old, you still play Dungeons and Dragons. And then Jose just walked up to me and got real close to me. He's like, do you play Dungeons and Dragons? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, we got to talk. And he starts talking about his characters and everything like that. Like he says, there's a lot of hurry up and wait in the military, and he says, you'd be surprised how much Dungeons and Dragons. And after that, it was great because nobody teased me about Dungeons and Dragons anymore.
Well, it's popular now. Like it
this was a while ago. This was when it,
I
never
course,
had a problem admitting my nerdy stuff. So what's this now?
So this is the trailer that I made for it.
Okay, I'll make it big.
What is that? And how do we determine if something is such? Some people are perplexed by a question like that. But those people are not me. With great power comes great responsibility. And I'm here to give the world beauty. There's a lot of ugly in this world, and we should call it what it is. Brandon Sanderson. Generic. Patrick Rothfuss. All fluff and no substance. Joe Abercrombie. Meh. Robert Jordan. More like Wheel of Lame. Frank Herbert. Boring. J.R.R. Toking. Yeah, he's okay, I guess. George R. Martin. I don't even need to say anything about that guy. I'm releasing a new masterpiece. Engracing the world with beauty. Illumination Toolsmith. The Tale of the Dunce Whisperer. You're welcome.
Troubles grow. A man on a mission got a heart of gold. With a hammer and a smile, he's ready to roll. Fixing broken dreams, making stories unfold. Hey, hey, he's the problem solver.
Yeah.
I got nervous when you were going to say something bad about Tolkien. I was like, I got to end this.
You can't. I was like, I mean, like, it's one guy. There's nothing to make fun of right there.
Do you really dislike Brandon Sanderson? I've never.
No, I love Brandon Sanderson.
Oh, okay. I got guys at work like, you got to read Brandon Sanderson. I'm like, I don't want to get into anything else. I do not need another TV.
Yeah, no, I'd highly recommend Brandon Sanderson. It's like you're mentioning, like, it's like it is one of those things. It's like, you do like feel like pretentious, like especially when you just shilling things in general, like kind of feel like pretentious, like who am I? So it's like I just personified that, and I was like, I literally Googled like what's the douchiest thing you could wear, and like we came up with turtleneck, beret, and just went with that. So yeah,
I'm trying to think. I'm not gonna read what's his name, R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones until that guy finishes those books.
I got to through the fourth book, and I'm like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I don't care.
I want to. I mean, I like the first couple of seasons of the show. I liked it a lot, and it's right up my alleyway. I like a lot of details and fake history and grand story.
I love world building. I love world building.
I love world building, but until that fat guy finishes those books, I'm not getting. I'm not going to read something by like an intern, from notes. Because I don't know what's he doing. What do they say? It's been 3 presidential elections since his last book came out.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, important to note that this is not one and done. This is a complete book. It's like it doesn't like you got a story, you see the end of the story, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you'll see the characters in another venture, but like if there's never a sequel, like don't worry, it's a complete story.
Oh, good. I like that too. Joe Ball is a great artist. Yeah, I'm so embarrassed that I mixed him up with somebody who shouldn't be mixed up with anybody talented. Yeah. I used to get shit from my punk friends for playing D. That's funny that punk friends, because punks were the ones who got like that's the whole thing about punks is they were ostracized, so they did what they didn't care to do. Like punks shouldn't be making fun of anybody. That's the way I look at punks. If you're a punk looking down at somebody else, you're not getting the purpose of punk. They would call me a 5th level fairy sword swallower because I made the mistake of going over an elf character one day. I don't know. You said you played Dungeons and Dragons. Did you have like a preference for your character? Like what character class, what race?
No, I always try to mix it up, right? Like I played the last one I did. It was a what was the class? It was a paladin. I did a paladin, and it was I can't remember the name exactly, but it was Alexander Genosius. It was Alex Jones, and I just went on a mission to kill all the pedophile elites that were out there.
I love playing a holier than thou paladin. And it's funny because the last time I made a character, I actually made a paladin, but I only told the game master that he was a paladin. Everybody else, I just told him he was a fighter.
Okay,
because I didn't want them to, I wanted them to be surprised when I saw like why would they know? Just by seeing me, I'm a paladin, because I was broke paladin. I had leather armor, and he wasn't like a shining knight on a steed. He was a paladin from the borderlands. Do you run games, or are you?
My wife actually D&D's. Your voice started robotic just last 2 seconds.
I have to DM or player.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, no, my wife, she can DM, but yeah, we haven't got. It's just so hard to get a game going and get people to commit, and we don't got many people in the area, so it's such a pain. So we haven't done anything in a while, but yeah, no, my wife, she's got a bunch of books and stuff like that, and she learned all the rules, so she can do it. I think maybe you're just roboting again. Hopefully, I don't know if it's the both of us.
Stop talking.
Yeah. Well, let me present I'll show off a little bit more art. Some of the art I don't want to share because it's maybe a little bit too spoilery. I don't typically care about spoiling stuff because I'm I got twists and turns in this. Because this isn't so I say it's comedy and everything. I made sure to not lack in any department, right? So if I'm writing a plot, it's good plot. I got some themes intertwined with this. So this we got here is by Dio. I don't know if he's the guy who did Tome of the Reckoning. I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh yeah.
So he did this for me. So this is if you can guess, it's the web room that they go in because all the crystal casts are connected by the web, and so at some point something breaks and one of the webs, I guess, breaks, and there's a bunch of spiders in there that go around and repair it. So what happened is one of the spiders got sick, so they have to go in there and try to not get their head bitten off and try to give the spider some, I don't know, some juice to wake it up, essentially. So.
I'm afraid to talk. I don't know if I'm going to be roboting or not, but I could see my
stop roboting. Yeah,
my internet is real low. It's 1 out of 5 bars right now.
Yeah, stream art could be difficult. So yeah, I mean, again, it's very much is starting off, and you're just going through the day in the life of him and what he has to deal with the customers. But then you're starting to get this hint that there's this something going on, something that is wrong with the grand mages that kind of run the kingdom and the power source. There's just something fishy going on, and our main character kind of starts to get accidentally intertwined in it all, and once he starts to put his nose where it doesn't belong, he has to start going on the run, and that's when it starts to become more of an action. Some demons they have to fight off.
Oh, cool.
Let me go and show you another one, because there's another image that shows
Dio, he has Tomb of Reckoning. He's really good too.
I really liked it. Yes,
the covers are amazing. I remember I was setting up all my comics on my table and just organizing, and my wife came by. I said, "Look at those covers!" I'm not even joking. There must have been 200 comics laid out on the table, and she picked out his covers. He really striking covers.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I have him somewhere around here. I his story that he's got going on is really cool. This is Matt Barr did this.
Oh yeah,
I love how this one turned out. So yeah, I was watching Mandalorian when you typically can tell what I'm watching or reading at the time because it's going to influence my work in some way. So I'm kind of did a fantasy armor, he's got a welder's helmet because he's a smith, that's how he fixes his stuff. And at some point he gets wands that are basically pistols. They're fire wands, so they shoot fire bolts. And yeah, so this is a dwarf. So one of the things throughout the kingdom is they're constantly calling him a dwarf that's like slanderous because dwarfs are rock people, right? So their rock is, they don't move, so it's like another way of calling somebody lazy, right?
Okay.
So they're like all the people kind of just keep on calling him lazy. They're kind of doing that, but like really, it's not he's lazy. It's just he's not playing the bureaucratic game, right? And that because he's not playing ball, they're kind of calling him lazy. But I was really going with like the theme of sloth with this whole story, right? So when everybody thinks sloth, they think lazy, right? Well, there's also the other aspect of inaction, right? If somebody is drowning and you're right there, you could save that person, and you choose not to save that person. That's a part of sloth, right? That's part of the deadly sins, right? So I kind of go into that because he's not a lazy person, but there is a little bit of him being indecisive, right? We're not. Maybe not taking action when he can. So it's kind of like the journey he's kind of like, going on this story.
Not lethargic, but like apathetic.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I talk about influence. It's like my last book. There's like a whole chapter where they're on an island, like doing survivor stuff, and it's like, I was watching Naked and Afraid like constantly, and so it's like I put in a whole survivor chapter in there. Yeah, and then we got this. So yeah, he's a dwarf. So at some point, he like after getting chased out of the castle, like he meets up with like a bunch of dwarves and kind of like mingles with them and like kind of learns their way, and because he has no idea what the dwarves are like actually. But yeah,
so I like this. Do you have like the classic dwarves, elves, and things like that? But it looks like you have your own spin on them.
I need to be different. It's
I like that.
There's also elves are briefly mentioned in this. There's a lot more in the world that is not in the book, right? Because I got another book series planned that's in the same world.
Oh, cool.
Years before. So yeah, the dwarves are rock people. They got like so it's like kind of lava veins going on. Yeah, they live in a volcano.
So what race are all four of those characters right there?
We got it's all human and the dwarf.
Okay.
Companion bat is this little bat Squeaks. But there is a mention of elves. They come towards the end briefly. And in my world, the elves are like bird people. That's my whole thing. People? Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's different.
Yeah, they ride giant eagles. So it's like the eagles come save day. Yeah.
You want to. It's like when you have a fantasy comic or story or a novel. There's like tropes that you almost expected to throw in your book, but at the same time, you got to make it unique.
Yeah, you can't not have elves. You can't not have dwarves. It's got to be in there. But again, it's just like I don't. It's like I do have like kind of a need. Not that it's necessary. It's a personal thing. It's like I'm like I gotta be different. I'm always trying to figure out.
I don't have any plans for any fantasy comics or anything like that. But like I do play fantasy role playing games with my friends, and I don't like when they know everything before we play. Like it's got to be different. So like they expect dwarves, they expect elves, they expect gnomes and orcs. Yeah. But I change them up. So like it's funny because they're like these are orcs, right? I'm like, yeah, these are orcs. Orcs are terrifying in my world. Like I want it to be like they recognize the tropes, but at the same time they're like, oh, okay, so this is a troll, so we got to use fire because trolls regenerate, but they don't regenerate because they memorize the monster manual. So I like to make up my own stuff. So I do like this. That like that's a dwarf, but I wouldn't recognize him as a dwarf, because it's unique to your world. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What else is gonna say the yeah, so like for my sequel idea, because like I've actually finished this for a while now. It's just you got to make things perfect, but I like at some point I came up with like the perfect sequel, because the whole thing, right? It's called Tale of the Dunce Whisperer. What's dunce whispering, right? And essentially, it's like he understands the idiot, but how does he do that? Well, he himself is also an idiot. but he's got self-awareness, so he can help fix people's problems because he knows what he would do as an idiot. So the other people that are,
He's
too
the
far up,
genius of the idiots.
yeah, other people can't see it because they'll be thinking like rationally or whatever, and they won't see something that a stupid person could do to break something, right? Like I should have it.
I don't know why, but I'm getting like a fantasy vibe of what the hell's the name of that book? Now I can't think of the name of the book. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, I know. I like it. I mean, I probably could have emphasized my comedy a little bit, but yeah, no. Man, the amount of times it's like, so like here's a really common one. Probably not the best example, but it's like the amount of times that you had to tell somebody to restart something, right? But you're over the phone, you tell them to restart, and they's like, okay, I restarted it. You're like, no, I meant like it actually has to turn off. Like they just logged off. They didn't actually turn off. It's just like, they'll tell the tech. They'll be like, no, I restarted it, and he's got a friend in here who's his name's Brever, and he's like, well, he said he did all this stuff. It's like, okay, cool. The customer said it doesn't mean he did it, right? Like,
I don't know. You got a lot of patience. That's for
yeah.
development testing is part of everything. Yeah, I have friends that work on board games, and they try to test them. I have other friends that they just want to break their board games.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna try combos.
Oh, you're roboting again, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, you're never gonna know how somebody's gonna mess something up. It's because it's like, but like the whole thing is like I have a whole philosophy. I really truly think that everybody is just not smart, right? Like if you really get to like like when you think of a doctor, you think of a smart person, but then like if you really know a doctor, you might be like, yeah, he's kind of an idiot. Like I would never see him as a doctor, right? Like. But just like they're not your doctor, right? But don't get to know your doctors. Don't get to know people that have to do really important things because the fact it's one of those things too. It's like learn on the job. It's like almost every job you do, you can learn on the job. It's just it's just a huge amount of fake it till you make it.
Yeah, still doing it. I've been doing the same job for almost 25 years, still faking it till I make it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the honest truth. Everybody's like faking it. And, I mean, that's where imposter syndrome comes in too, but it's like, man, it's like, you're not an imposter. Well, I mean, I guess you are. Everybody's an imposter, right? It's like, everybody's an idiot. So.
Yeah. And we got the artist right here.
Yeah.
I love Matt's work. I'm going to try to have at least one page for Matt in every one of my comics. So my comic will be, shipping next week, and you'll see Matt's page.
Yeah, he did. Great work, man. I like this is. It's like between that one and the Good Idea Fairy, just like so freaking awesome. So
what? You just have like a couple of images in the book. It's not illustrated.
Yeah. So yeah, five illustrations total, and like they're throughout the book.
Are they going to be colored or anything, or just black and white?
No, black and white. Yeah, there'll be a whole like. If I got them colored, I'd have to spend so much more money to make the like print and color. But then all the words are black and white, so just gonna do black and white.
Okay,
save some money.
So makes sense there for a book. So could you get a hard copy of this book, or is it Kindle edition only?
No, I mean potentially in the future I could do a hard cover. But it is
like a soft cover. What I meant the hard cover, like I could get a book in my hand because I'm not reading the book on a Kindle. I'm an old school. Like
yeah,
okay,
yeah. If you the $7.99, that's all you got to pay. Amazon Prime, so
$7.99. That's cheaper than most indie comics.
Yeah. Oh, so again, only for this month. I'll have to up the price to like $10, so maybe I can make a whole $1 off the book. I'm not making that.
I do want to. So you just launched yesterday, but like your book that you launched a while ago, like I'm beating around the bush, but are they profitable, or is this just something you've always wanted to do? Like,
no, I write the story no matter what, and I've like not advertised that book. There used to be more reviews on it. I did change the cover up because the cover that I had just didn't fit. So and when you change the cover on Amazon, it's like a new product, so all those reviews went away. But no, I didn't make money off of that. Like I had, friends and family and some other people, but if you look at my YouTube, had no presence. I didn't post anything on Twitter, so. But yeah, I'm writing these stories for fun and trying to get people interested to read it because I think it's such a fun story. And
sounds like
I think other people. Yeah.
So Master Hobo says, I got 3 books coming. Mine is one of them. Thank you. It's so good. You're gonna love it.
Add four, or add another.
Yeah, there's room for 4. There's room for 4. I don't know. I for a while I was just like, I'm so nervous, but if you got my book digitally, you got it already, and people are telling me that they love it. So I guess I'm getting over that nerves. Hail John and Battsauce. Am I roboting? Hail Matt.
No, you're good.
Working security tonight at a very progressive church. They've been open all day to offer counseling. Oh, they could read the Dunce Whisperer to keep their mind off the troubling world events. There you go. Nothing like a nice fantasy comedy to keep them in a nice safe space in the corner.
Yeah. Look, anyone listening, if you have a family member that works IT, buy them this book. They're gonna thank you.
Just got my boy Zach package. 2 years late. Yeah, I got the. Wow, 2 years late. Yeah, I got Jawbreakers forever. I can't even freaking talk anymore.
Yeah.
So you said this is you have a sequel planned. So like you have a series of books. Each book could be read alone on its own.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I after I finished this, like this was complete. I had no actual intention. I was like, maybe if this was like super successful, I could probably write a sequel. But then like I came up with the perfect enemy. Sorry, I forgot I was going on this tangent. So it's like, like what is the guy whose superpower is that he knows he's stupid? Like what's going to be his best opponent? And then I remember like 40k orcs. Do you know how they work?
Wog, yeah,
they use the power of the wog. If they're like their power comes from them being stupid and believing that the color red makes things faster, right? Or sorry, the color yellow. So what if I came up, my own 40k orcs and the Dunce Whisperer had to go up against people who are stronger the more stupid they are. What is that going to look like? How is the Dunce Whisperer going to outdunce the people that use dunce as a superpower themselves? So I was like, oh, this is going to be ridiculous. I got so many ideas for it. That one probably would have to not be all of ages because of the comedy with the orcs. Because I got like a look more like a goblin, but like jacked arms kind of orc that has a sniper rifle that takes people's fingers and uses their fingers as bullets. I got a lot of like stupid ideas for that book that I kind of really want to get written at some point.
That's a deep cut wog with the orcs. So are you a 40k player too?
I don't play it, but I'm a good bit. I know a lot of the lore. I had a roommate that was like massive 40k fan, so I know pretty much majority.
So he was always putting models together and painting, and
he played all the video games for a year, and this is years ago. I think he had some stuff, but not like in his current living situation. But like that guy, you asked him anything 40k lore wise, he had an answer for you. He knew it all.
Yeah, I love the lore. Two of my roommates, they were all into the game. They had miniatures. They painted them constantly. We rented his grandmother's house, so the dining room table was just a Warhammer table.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just broke in the 90s. I was going to college. I was not going to get into Warhammer, and they kept tempting me. John, you can have this whole army. This will be your army. I'm like, oh God, please.
Yeah, looking at the price to get figures and stuff, I'm like, no, thank you. But I love the lore too. Like the Chaos Gods, I'm like super into them.
But there's a bunch of board games that I have. Chaos in the Old World is a Warhammer board game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a stack of comics called Warhammer Monthly. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It was like 1 to 50 or something like that. And he just was like, here, you like comics, read these. And then I've been buying the back issues of, so I'm up to 86. But I really like the story. It's really dark. It's fun, but I still get that temptation but it's just too expensive.
Yeah, no, I know. I know the feeling exactly. But yeah, that's I mean, there's like all the different races in there. They're all so cool. You know, you got the of course I'm blanking, the Necrons. You got their like Egyptian like zombies, but they're not all of them are zombies. Some of them are like super smart. Like most of them are only zombies because they're immortal and they went insane, and that's why they're zombies. Yeah, you got the orcs. They're more like mushrooms than they are humans. Like
there's a store I can walk to it from my house. It's called Brothers Grimm. I might as well give them a shout out. And it's like a Warhammer store. You go in there, like they have a full scale mind flayer hanging up.
Oh yeah.
They got like pig orcs from like old D&D hanging up. Really really cool stuff. And my buddy Scott, he has a room in his house that like you hit the button and the fake bricks open up, and that's where all the table is. So like
that's pretty dope.
Like as much as I was tempted to play back in college, now I got some disposable income, but I still. But it's like everywhere I look, it's like turn around. There's a Warhammer store right there. Go to Scott's house. It's perfectly set up for Warhammer.
Yeah, but you can't see once you start though. You're gonna want it all, and you can't afford it all. Man, I would love to get like one of the what's his name, Titsnich, or however you pronounce it. Yes. Sneech, the Chaos Lord of like Wisdom or whatever. Like one of his bird generals. I don't know the 2-headed one, the one that sees only the future, or the one that only sees the past. Like, man, I want that thing so bad.
Yeah, have you done any of this miniature wargaming or of any?
No, I've never gotten into. I mean, I played like RTS type like games and stuff like that, but not like in a physical miniature.
RTS, that's a video game.
Yeah, or a real time strategy.
Oh, okay.
Like Warcraft, like not World of Warcraft, the old Warcraft.
I know I would.
StarCraft, yeah, too.
I just know me. I would never stop if I got those video games. I'm looking over there because I got the World of Warcraft board game, and it's
cool.
It's like a box this big, and I got it on eBay for I think the price was like $40, but people like I see it now for like $300, and then I bought expansion, so it's just a million Warhammer piece. I have never played it yet. All the criticism of it, like, oh, it takes too long. You'll be playing for 4 hours. It's super complicated. I'm like, this sounds awesome. Like if I like a game, I want it to be 4 hours. I want it to be super complicated. Yeah. I love all the little details and everything like that. I don't even care if I win. I just love all that. That's why I love like Lord of the Rings and Marvel Comics was my thing, keeping track of the continuity. I loved all of that stuff,
Oh yeah.
And I know I would love Game of Thrones, but finish the damn books. I'm not reading them.
To answer that question from Zachtan, that's from my sci-fi, like grimdark sci-fi book. If you're interested, it's called Dawn Edge. Just Google Dawn Edge book. It will pop up. But yeah, that came out like 2 years ago or something like that at this point. Much different. Grimdark sci-fi, fantasy, all age comedy. So I'm a wide variety of options for me. But were you big into the like the Warcraft lore?
No, I don't know anything about. I was afraid. I was afraid to get into it because it looked fun. Same. And what was the one before Warcraft? EverQuest. Oh yeah, that's how old I am. I remember EverQuest. Yeah. I remember the ads in the comic books was girls at bars, hot girls at a bar, and then the guy looking at the camera goes, "Thanks, EverQuest." Like this girl's boyfriend or husband is just ignoring her. So I was like, I have an addictive personality. I won't be able to do it. But this is Dawn Edge. This is where the thumbnail is from.
Yep. George. Yeah. You got I talked about this with my buddy, the Ultimate Kahuna, my co-host. It's just like, and I think he mentioned I think you mentioned the same thing too, right? It's like when you're writing your first story, I don't know, it's like maybe just too many ideas, right? And it's
I
like,
know where you're going. Yeah.
Too many. I have 6 main characters in that story, but like luckily it's a novel, and I intended for it to be a long novel. Like this book it's like the length of the first Harry Potter book, which isn't bad, right? It's like 240 pages. Yeah, 240 pages.
Oh,
like
hold it up. I just want to see how thick it is. Yo, okay, that's not bad.
No, yeah,
that's fine.
So this book, much thicker, right? Dawn Edge, much thicker. It's like twice the length. But yeah, so it's easier.
If I like the book, I want it to be a long book.
Right. A book is as long as it needs to be, right? Like, so getting those 6 characters, like, yeah, I feel like I accomplished that, but like looking back, I'm like, why did I do that to myself? Like, like why didn't I just focus on 2 main characters and then like have the other guys as more side characters, which would have been a lot easier if I wrote it that way. But like the Ultimate Kahuna mentioned, like he's got a friend, similar situation, that wrote like a sci-fi book, a lot of main characters, and it's just like, yeah, we got the cool ideas, we want to show it off.
With my comic Heroic Tales, my original script was just world building the script, and it was like, I'm not even joking, like 20 characters, and then somebody was just like, I don't care about any of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's,
I was like,
it's important to have that detail though, right? Like,
yeah.
I think people, because like the whole thing was like people pushing the advice, right? Like, don't worry too much about, or basically like, don't worry about world building because you gotta worry about the other stuff. And yeah, the other stuff is important for that story to work. But like, man, if you want that detail in it, you have to have like a fleshed out world. Well,
you got 2 novels,
Mm-hmm.
You're like, the way I think, and again, I don't have a novel. I have a comic. I still don't consider it yet until people have the physical comic, but it's like, I have this world in my head, and I feel as long as I'm logically consistent with this world in my head and my notes, I got literally binders full of notes, that the world building will come through if the story is interesting enough.
Yeah. Well, because it's like you'll read some stories and it's just like it comes off as blank. Because like, again, I'm definitely not alone in this. I love when I get like hints of world building in a story. That's why people fell in love with the Lord of the Rings. Right. I think the advice comes from, because there are people that just world build and never write a story, because it's like, yeah, but you need that like world in order to, like, yes, you need a good story, obviously, but like you need a world also to be like the backbone, the structure of that, right? You need both of them, but depending on the type of story you're writing, right?
Like what? Okay, so you have a world. There's obviously magic in your world.
Yeah.
I assume you know how magic works in your world, but you don't.
Yeah.
You don't lay out everything in the first book to overwhelm. You know what I mean? But
I love magic systems, and so it's like in this. So the illumination, the base magic of the kingdom. There's 3 types of illumination. So I kind of break down how that works. But it's simple. It's energized by another universe, kind of siphon energy from that other universe.
I have a magic system for Heroic Tales, even though I haven't shown a magic character yet. But they will be sooner or later if I make it. But but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna just have a guy with the pointer at a blackboard just telling the reader this is how the magic system. Like I'll just try to be consistent, and then if people ask questions or figure it out, yeah. But if they're like confused, then I didn't do my job. But I also like Tolkien never explained his magic system.
No, so I think you get the soft versus hard magic, right?
But I think he was very consistent with it, and it's almost
he knew how it worked.
Yeah, he knew how it worked, and I believe he knew how it worked. I'm not saying I knew how it worked, but I believe it was consistent. It felt consistent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like he was kind of like teasing that the whole thing, like, right? It's yeah, obviously it's the biggest example of soft magic, but it's like there's still rules, right? Like the ring, we don't know exactly how it works, right? But like it tends to turn people invisible when they put the ring on. I say tends because it doesn't turn everyone invisible. It doesn't turn Sauron invisible. Doesn't turn what's his name? Tom Bombadil doesn't turn him invisible. What if Gandalf put it on? Would it turn him invisible? I don't know. Token probably knows. Like, but yeah, like we don't know exactly what's going on with that. We know it's like part of going into the Wraith world. But yeah, like there's all this detail and stuff like that. But
like you know, the dwarf rings didn't work the way Sauron wanted them to work on the dwarves.
Yeah,
and I was talking with a friend, and I was just like, yeah, because dwarves weren't the children of Iluvatar. They were created by a Maya who
right, yeah,
and they weren't part of
Valar.
And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, you know, like
yeah, that was kind of like the dwarves are like the one thing that like
the redheaded stepchild of
yeah, and then the orcs, the whole thing about because that was the one that got like retconned, and he couldn't ever like really like nail down which exactly like what was the origin of the orcs, because like he wanted them to be pure evil, but like you can't create without Iluvatar, you know,
right?
The god. And if that's the case, then how do you create orcs without that? And then if they're created by Iluvatar, does that mean they're not savable? Like technically,
his theology of the world, you know, he had to really struggle with making it consistent, which I thought was good. So he ended up saying that the orcs are evil. Maybe I'm wrong, but he said the orcs are evil, but they're not irredeemable evil, because nothing that ultimately spawns from the Iluvatar is irredeemably evil. I was actually like with the same friend. I'm like if Treebeard put on one ring, I don't think he would turn invisible, because he's not a child of Iluvatar. He was created by Yavanna. You know,
right?
They weren't.
Oh,
you're
roboting again.
Oh, I was peeking out. I'm going to talk because I sit down one bar. Can you hear about that creator?
Yeah, Book of Mormon. Yeah. No, I mean it could go down the Lord of the Rings rabbit hole for forever. You know, I love it. And that's kind of where like. I was going to write, like, I do have plans for, like, actually, it's completely, all the notes are done for my next fantasy series, at least the first book of that. And, yeah, I wanted to work on that story first, but then when I came up with the idea of the Tale of the Dunce Whisperer, I'm like, I got to do this one now. But I'm like, okay, but they take place in the same world. The Dunce Whisperer takes place way in the future. But, like, there's some hints, because I got that chick that you saw in Matt Barr's drawing. She's a paladin, a flame paladin specifically. Not like there's other paladins, but, like, there's a whole thing with fire magic in this. And only certain people can really, like, wield that type of magic, paladins being one of them. And so that's kind of, like, introducing to the type of character. Well, she's not the only paladin you're introducing in this story, but there's a group of them. But essentially, it's like, yeah, there's going to be paladins in this other fantasy series that I have planned out. So you kind of get a taste of the world that's going to be in this other world, just in a comedy setting.
Cool. I don't know. I'm too scared to write comedy.
Yeah. You never know if it's going to be cringy or not. Yeah.
Comedy is tough, I think.
Yeah, I love comedy though. I hope, you know, I'm confident. But it's like, again, you never know, you know.
I want to write a comedy and I want to write a mystery, and I don't think I'm smart enough to write either one of those yet. A good detective story, you know.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody's smart enough, really. It's just no faking it.
I gotta fake it. So I'm gonna stop because I gotta go on Fourth Age with RJ. So is there anything that we didn't get to talk about that you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean I said a lot. I mean, guys, like, buy it. It's good, and like, dude, if you know, I know, you know, comic book audience, they don't, necessarily read novels. You like much more than just having 5 pictures to look at. I totally get that. I totally understand that. I'm dyslexic, but that's why my wife's job is much harder. But like, if you know people that are readers, especially like I'm saying, like if they worked customer service, this is gonna be so cathartic. You're gonna see characters in there. You're like, I know this person. I had to work with him, or I had this customer, and like, oh yeah, it's such a pain in the ass, right? Like, everybody always says like they hate to hear bitching, but then everybody bitches. It's like, really, we just don't want to hear people do stupid or boring bitching. Bitching is an art, I think, right? And it is an art that I've mastered with my flavor of comedy, and and this is my bitching. But yeah, no, this isn't a character. A lot of when I say like, oh, is this character gonna be edgy, that he's just like, oh, thinking he's better than everyone? No. This character messes up just as much as everyone, and feels like an idiot plenty of times, and maybe sometimes his confidence can get him in more trouble. So I'm telling you, it's not just gonna be, you're not just be laughing your ass. You're also gonna be like, getting a more of like a philosophical story as well too.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. And you could get a Kindle copy. You could get, when I say hard copy, I mean like a physical copy. You could get a physical copy. You could get a Kindle copy.
Yeah. Oh, that's the basic. If you want to help me out for free, go on my Twitter and repost or like my announcement trailer. That would be huge. Just getting the word out to people that may be interested in the story, if it's not, if it's not something for you. And I'm roasting anyone who quote tweets it. So if you want to hear a good roast, I've roasted a few people in the chat already. So it's a little fun thing I'm doing.
I'm going to put this link in the chat. Is this the correct link?
If it was the one from the private chat, it is. Yeah.
So go there, and what do you want us to do? Just retweet it, and you'll bust our chops.
You got to quote tweet it, and I will roast you.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna get going because I got a couple of minutes to. I think I got to reboot this computer. Something's going on. StreamYard was messed up. I had to send you 3 different links. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it happens. Technical issues. What's that like?
I'm sorry I roboted, but that just meant you got to talk about your book more.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, in 15 minutes, I'll be over on the 4th Age. So, YouTube, the 4th Age, and I'll be talking to RJ. He always finds interesting new comic book people, art people, and even novelists. And it's always kind of fascinating. I never know these people, so I'm meeting them for the first time. So there you go. And you got where you're going to be at. You're promoting your books. Where else are you going to be?
I'll be on DG's Dark Riffs channel tonight at 10.
Okay,
you catch me there, and I will be on Iron Age Nights on A Drink with Crazy's channel Friday night. So.
Cool. All right. See you, everybody.